to participate in developing the capital plan because I did those things in the state of New York. As Deputy for Administration and Management, we could have been at least a year further along if the acceptance of that process, which Mr. Cunningham approved at his swearing in, but didn't follow through on, was done. Number two, in terms of budgeting, which was mentioned, we don't do really comprehensive budgeting in this town. We look at the margins, at the small expenditures, rather than digging in and asking why we're spending this sum of large money there and another there. So we can do much more aggressive work on budgeting.
Thank you, Mr. Messina. This next question gets right to the point. Why don't we have a noise ordinance in town yet? This question for you, Sam.
"18 months ago, or a little bit longer than that, I was asked to chair a noise ordinance subcommittee. I was proud of that assignment, proud of the people that I worked with, some 8 people, representatives from the town and our citizens. Thought we did a commendable job of developing a noise ordinance that was balanced and gave the town board some options. Unfortunately, while I was on vacation, that noise ordinance moved from the committee to the town board. I did not know about that when I came back from vacation. I pulled that ordinance back, talked to Mr. Cunningham about the fact that it was not ready to move forward. We resubmitted it in 1 month, and at that time it was a professional document. No issue that I've seen in the last 4 years of the town board has generated as much positive interest as a noise ordinance because it's a quality of life issue. I hear about it all the time. Yet, 4.5 months later, after submitting it, it sits with Mr. Cunningham, and he has advised that the reason it's sitting is that he's waiting for what's going to go on in Colony about theirs. We looked at 20 different ordinances, and we have a lot of work to do on the noise ordinance. We could have been doing that while waiting for Colony to do whatever it was going to do.
Thank you, Mr. Messina. Mr. Cunningham.
Mr. Messina is correct. There was an 18-month period where a noise ordinance was worked on. During that period, the town board was not advised of what was going on. Our town council was never consulted. Our chief of police was never consulted. And the end result was we were given a document that included things like wind chimes as noise in the town of Bethlehem. The town board looked at it, and we couldn't approve it as written. At the same time, the town of Colony was going through some issues with their noise ordinance, and our town council worked with town council in Colony to look at the issues they were experiencing with their noise ordinance, so when we move forward with ours, we wouldn't make the same mistakes. The town of Colony just approved a noise ordinance in July. We are going to continue with that process, but I think it's a little unreasonable to expect that after 18 months of waiting to look for a document that includes wind chimes as noise, that I'm supposed to produce a document in 4 months that would be acceptable to the town board.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. If the town of Bethlehem receives $1 million and a change less in revenue in 2010, as it did in 2009, as supervisor, how much in budget cuts will you recommend come from reductions in spending versus reserves, and how much from each department will you recommend spending be decreased?
I think the question is, what am I going to do if the budget doesn't balance next year? Last year, when we did our budget, gasoline, this is in 2008, gasoline prices were at $4 per gallon, unemployment was at 5%, and the Dow Jones Industrial was at 12,000. By the time we started implementing that budget, our world had changed. We've adjusted this year to those realities. We adjusted to the shortfalls in revenue that we experienced because of the decline in mortgage tax and sales tax. This year, when we put our budget together, we believe that we are very realistic on our expectations, given what we hear in the economy and what we can expect to see as far as sales tax and mortgage tax revenue in the future. A lot of our budget is directly from property tax. Our water budget, our highway budget, those budgets, we know the revenue at the beginning of the year, so we don't have a lot of variables during the year. But our general fund budget consists primarily of, or is primarily funded from sales tax. So if the economy slows even further next year, we'll need to take a closer look at where we are with our budget and make budget cuts appropriately. Where we cut and how we cut is speculation, and I wouldn't want to speculate right now. But this year we were very proud of the fact that although we could make budget cuts, we didn't lay any employees off, we didn't cut any benefits, and we were able to provide the services at the same level that we provided them before. And we hope to be able to do the same next year, and we just hope that the economy turns around as projected.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Mr. Messina.
Well, just to clarify the noise ordinance thing, the town board received 2 interim reports that spelled out exactly where we were on the noise ordinance. Town board members, including Mr. Cunningham, were invited to all of our 20 or so meetings of the town noise ordinance committee. My recollection is that Mr. Cunningham kicked off the first meeting for 5 minutes. We submitted a document that was praised by all town board members when we submitted for its comprehensiveness. And remember, we had police and our codes enforcement officials involved in that subcommittee. So I think we gave a document to the town board that it certainly could have discussed regarding the budget and a potential $1 million cut or whatever that reduction might be in terms of the challenge next year. Budgets should not be built on hope. We are not in a position of knowing what will happen with the federal or state economy, although we can make guesses. But here's what I would do working with our town staff. I would set specific targets that we would work on together for savings in major program areas. 75% of our budget is in 3 program areas, roughly about $26 million. I would establish a 4% savings objective there, much less in the smaller programs where we could achieve 2%. If we did that, I think we could, working cooperatively, generate about $2 to $3 million in savings without impacting services. Improve technology and consideration of other management improvements. How we resurface and pave our streets, how often we do that, and things of that nature could save us money, period.
Thank you, Mr. Messina. What is your opinion on the Ben's Bridge closing?
We have a lot of work to do on the Ben's Bridge, sometimes called the Jericho Bridge. But from my perspective, the approach ought to be like this. Question why it has to close. It seems to me that the town became aware of this, at least the town board became aware of this, and involved after the county had taken action to say that it was going to close. I think some more rigorous conversations with the county and with their engineers should have happened earlier to look at options. The next thing is that it's potential that it wasn't so much of a safety or bridge deterioration issue as it was a possible reallocation of funds among different priorities and projects that have to be attended by the community. If that's the case, we need to get back with the county and say, what's the reason for this? What is happening? What are the options? We need to pursue everything to keep that open because it adds 5 minutes to emergency